In the blink of an eye, 4 billion years unfold. The Earth's timeline and epic history. Part 2 of our epic journey, the quickening, saw life emerge from the primordial oceans, transforming our planet with the rise of oxygen and the evolution of complex eukaryotic cells. We even weathered global ice ages, the dramatic snowball Earth events. Now, as the Earth thawed and the conditions became more favorable, life was poised for an unprecedented leap forward. For billions of years, life had remained relatively simple, dominated by single-celled organisms. But around 541 million years ago, something extraordinary happened. In a relatively short geological time frame, the oceans exploded with an incredible diversity of animal life. This period, known as the Cambrian explosion, is the dawn of complex animal life on Earth, and it's what we call Part 3, the flowering. Before the Cambrian, most life forms were soft-bodied and relatively small. But during this period, within just a few tens of millions of years, almost all the major animal body plans we see today suddenly appeared in the fossil record. Creatures with shells, skeletons, eyes, and complex organs evolved at an astonishing rate. It was as if life had suddenly found a multitude of new ways to exist. Think of it like a garden after a long winter. For a long time, only simple plants might have been present. But then, with the right conditions, suddenly a riot of colour and form emerges. Flowers of all shapes and sizes bloom, showcasing the incredible potential of life. The Cambrian explosion was the flowering of the animal kingdom, a period of rapid experimentation and innovation that laid the foundation for all the animal life that would follow. The contrast between the life that came before the Cambrian and the explosion of complexity during this period is truly remarkable. It's a testament to the power of evolution to seize opportunities and diversify into a myriad of forms when the conditions are right. Scientists are still actively researching the precise triggers for this explosion, but factors like increased oxygen levels and changes in ocean chemistry likely played a significant role. Over the course of the flowering, we will explore this incredible period of diversification and trace the lineage of life as it continues its journey. We'll witness the first ventures onto land, the rise of the first forests that would dramatically alter our planet's atmosphere once again, the emergence of reptiles, the long reign of the dinosaurs, and the dramatic event that brought their dominance to an end. The Cambrian explosion marks a pivotal moment in the Earth's timeline, a dramatic turning point where life truly began to flourish in all its intricate and wondrous forms. Join us as we delve into this extraordinary era and witness the dawn of the animal kingdom in Part 3, the flowering. We've arrived at one of the most pivotal and perplexing periods in the history of life on Earth, the Cambrian explosion. Following the long reign of simple, single-celled organisms and the dramatic snowball Earth glaciations, the oceans suddenly burst forth with an astonishing array of complex animal life. The Cambrian period, spanning a little over 50 million years, might seem like a vast expanse of time to us. But in the grand scheme of Earth's history, it was a blink of an eye, a geological heartbeat within which the foundations of the animal kingdom were laid. This explosion of life wasn't instantaneous, but it was remarkably rapid compared to the billions of years that preceded it. The Cambrian explosion is characterized by several key features. Firstly, the seemingly sudden appearance of most of the major animal body plans, what scientists call phyla. These are the broad categories that encompass all animal life today, things like arthropods, insects, crustaceans, mollusks, snails, clams, chordates, which include us, and many others. Before the Cambrian, these fundamental blueprints for animal life were largely absent. Secondly, the Cambrian saw the widespread development of hard body parts, such as shells, skeletons, and exoskeletons. This was a significant evolutionary innovation, providing protection, support, and anchors for muscles, allowing for more active lifestyles and the development of larger sizes. Let's take a look at some of the iconic inhabitants of this extraordinary era. Imagine Anomalocaris, a formidable predator with grasping claws and a circular mouth lined with teeth. Or the humble trilobites, early arthropods with segmented bodies and intricate eyes that scuttled across the seabed. Then there's the bizarre Hallucigenia, a creature so strange that scientists initially reconstructed it upside down. And the equally peculiar Opabinia with its 5 eyes and a long, flexible proboscis ending in a claw. These are just a few examples of the incredible evolutionary experimentation that took place during the Cambrian. What triggered this remarkable burst of evolutionary creativity? Several factors likely played a role. The increase in atmospheric oxygen levels following the snowball Earth events provided the energy needed for more active and larger organisms. The clearing of the frozen Earth may have also opened up new ecological niches for life to exploit. The evolution of Hox genes, a set of regulatory genes that control the body plan of animals, may have also been crucial, allowing for the development of more complex and segmented body structures. And the emergence of predation likely acted as a powerful selective pressure, driving the evolution of defenses like shells and more sophisticated sensory organs. Our understanding of the Cambrian explosion is largely based on remarkable fossil discoveries from sites around the world, most notably the Burgess Shale in Canada and the Chengjiang fossil site in China. These sites preserved not just the hard parts of organisms, but also the soft tissues, providing an unprecedented glimpse into the diversity of early animal life. The contrast with the life that existed before the Cambrian is stark. The Ediacaran biota, which preceded the Cambrian, consisted mostly of enigmatic, soft-bodied organisms with simple, often radial symmetry. The Cambrian saw the rapid appearance of animals with bilateral symmetry, distinct heads and tails, and specialized organs. A fundamental shift in the organization of life. The legacy of the Cambrian explosion is profound. Almost all the major animal phyla that exist today can trace their origins back to this relatively brief period in Earth's history. It was a time of evolutionary innovation on a scale never seen before or since, setting the stage for the further diversification and evolution of life that would eventually lead to the world we inhabit today. The Cambrian explosion remains a source of fascination and ongoing research for scientists. While we've made tremendous progress in understanding this pivotal period, many questions still remain about the precise causes and mechanisms behind this extraordinary burst of life. Join us in the next chapter as we explore the next major step in life's journey: the move from the oceans to the land. The Cambrian explosion filled the oceans with an astonishing array of life. But for billions of years, the land remained largely barren, a harsh and unforgiving environment. The next great chapter in Earth's history is the story of life's courageous and transformative journey from the water to the land, coming ashore. Compared to the stable, buoyant environment of the oceans, the land presented a formidable set of challenges. The most immediate was desiccation, the constant threat of drying out. Water is essential for life, and on land, organisms needed to find ways to retain moisture. Gravity was another significant hurdle. Aquatic life is supported by the water around it, but on land, organisms needed structures to support their own weight. Temperature fluctuations on land were also far more extreme than in the oceans, and obtaining nutrients required new strategies. Early life on land likely began at the water's edge, with simple organisms like algae and cyanobacteria forming slimy microbial mats on damp rocks and soil. These pioneers paved the way, slowly modifying the terrestrial environment. The first true land plants, the bryophytes, which include mosses, liverworts and hornworts, emerged around 470 million years ago. These plants developed simple adaptations to cope with the challenges of life on land. They possessed root-like structures called rhizoids to anchor them and absorb some water, and a waxy outer layer called a cuticle to help prevent water loss. However, they still relied on moist environments for reproduction. Not long after the first plants, the first animals began to venture onto land. These were likely invertebrates, primarily arthropods, the ancestors of modern insects, millipedes and spiders. Their hard external skeletons, or exoskeletons, provided support and protection against desiccation. They also developed simple respiratory systems to extract oxygen from the air. A major evolutionary breakthrough came with the appearance of vascular plants around 420 million years ago. These plants, which include ferns and eventually seed-bearing plants, developed specialized tissues, xylem and phloem, to transport water and nutrients throughout their bodies. This innovation allowed plants to grow much larger and colonize drier environments further inland. The colonization of land by plants created new opportunities for animals. The increasing vegetation provided food and shelter, leading to the next significant wave of terrestrial pioneers, the vertebrates. The first vertebrates to make the transition from water to land were the early tetrapods, four-limbed creatures that evolved from lobe-finned fish around 370 million years ago. These early tetrapods faced significant challenges on land. Their limbs were initially adapted for moving in shallow water, not for supporting their full weight on dry ground. They still needed to return to water to lay their eggs, as their eggs lacked a protective shell. Over millions of years, they gradually evolved stronger limbs, more efficient lungs for breathing air, and other adaptations that allowed them to spend more time on land. The move to land was a gradual process, spanning tens of millions of years. It wasn't a single dramatic event, but rather a series of incremental adaptations by different groups of organisms as they explored this new and challenging frontier. From simple microbial mats to complex vascular plants and the first four-legged vertebrates, life slowly but surely conquered the land. The world we know today, with its vast forests, sprawling grasslands and diverse animal life on land, owes its existence to these early pioneers who dared to venture out of the aquatic realm. Their adaptations and their descendants have shaped the terrestrial environment in profound ways. Join us in the next chapter as we explore the next major stage in the evolution of land ecosystems, the age of forests. Life had taken its first tentative steps onto land, but the early terrestrial landscape was still relatively low-lying, dominated by smaller plants clinging to damp environments. The next major transformation of our planet's surface was the rise of towering vegetation, the evolution of the first true forests. This is the story of the age of forests. The key to the development of these grand ecosystems lay in the continued evolution of vascular plants, those with specialized tissues for transporting water and nutrients. A crucial innovation was the development of lignin, a complex polymer that provided structural support, allowing plants to grow much taller and develop woody stems. This was the biological equivalent of an architectural revolution. By the Devonian period, around 419 to 359 million years ago, the first true forests began to appear. These weren't the forests we might immediately recognize today. They were dominated by plants like Archaeopteris, which looked somewhat like a fern but reproduced with seeds, and giant lycophytes, relatives of modern club mosses that could reach heights of over 30 meters. These early forests had a profound impact on the Earth's atmosphere. As these plants grew and photosynthesized, they absorbed vast amounts of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and released oxygen. This process, occurring on a global scale, led to a significant drawdown of atmospheric carbon dioxide levels. The consequences of this atmospheric shift were significant. Lower levels of carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, likely led to a cooling of the planet. Some scientists even suggest that this period of intense plant growth may have contributed to glacial periods. See, the rise of forests also created entirely new ecological niches. The complex three-dimensional structure of these early woodlands provided shelter and new food sources for the evolving terrestrial animal life. While insects and other invertebrates had already made the move to land, the emergence of forests spurred further diversification and adaptation. The Carboniferous period, which followed the Devonian, around 359 to 299 million years ago, saw the further expansion and diversification of forests. These were often swampy environments, dominated by giant lycophytes, horsetails, and early ferns that thrived in the warm, humid conditions. The sheer volume of plant matter produced in these carboniferous forests and the swampy conditions that prevented complete decomposition led to the accumulation of vast amounts of organic material. Over millions of years, this plant matter was buried and compressed, eventually forming the extensive coal deposits that we still rely on today. The very fuel that powered the Industrial Revolution has its origins in these ancient forests. Another key evolutionary innovation that arose during this period was the development of seeds in plants. Unlike earlier plants that relied on spores for reproduction, seeds provided a protective covering and a food source for the developing embryo, allowing plants to colonize drier habitats and spread more effectively. The age of forests was a time of profound change for our planet. The evolution of tall, woody plants not only transformed the terrestrial landscape, but also had a dramatic impact on the atmosphere and the evolution of other life forms. These ancient forests laid the foundation for the complex terrestrial ecosystems we see today. From the first tentative steps onto land, life had now created vast, complex ecosystems that stretched across continents, but the story of terrestrial life was far from over. In our next chapter, we'll explore the rise of a new group of vertebrates that would become increasingly dominant on land: the reptiles. The age of forests had transformed the land, creating rich and complex ecosystems. But the vertebrates that first ventured onto land, the early tetrapods, were still largely tied to water for reproduction. The next major evolutionary step was the emergence of a group of animals that could truly conquer the terrestrial realm: the reptiles. Reptiles evolved from amphibian ancestors, branching off the tetrapod family tree around 310 million years ago during the late Carboniferous period. They inherited the four-limbed body plan, but developed key adaptations that allowed them to thrive in drier, more diverse terrestrial environments far from the water's edge. Perhaps the most significant of these adaptations was the evolution of the amniotic egg. Unlike amphibian eggs, which are soft and must be laid in water to prevent desiccation, the amniotic egg has a tough, leathery shell and internal membranes that provide a watery environment and nourishment for the developing embryo. This innovation liberated reptiles from the need to return to water to reproduce, allowing them to colonize a much wider range of habitats. But the amniotic egg was just one piece of the puzzle. Reptiles also developed other crucial adaptations for terrestrial life. Their skin became covered in scales, which are made of keratin, the same protein found in our fingernails. These scales are waterproof, further reducing the risk of desiccation. Reptiles also evolved more efficient lungs for breathing air and developed different metabolic strategies, allowing some to thrive in colder or hotter environments. While many early reptiles were ectothermic, relying on external sources of heat to regulate their body temperature, this was still an advantage in many terrestrial habitats. The rise of reptiles wasn't a smooth, uninterrupted ascent. Around 252 million years ago, the Earth experienced the largest mass extinction event in its history, the Permian-Triassic extinction, often referred to as the Great Dying. This catastrophic event wiped out the vast majority of life on Earth, including many early reptiles and their ancestors. However, from the ashes of this devastation, a new era dawned, the Triassic period. The surviving reptiles diversified rapidly, filling the ecological niches left vacant by the extinction. This period saw the emergence of a wide array of reptilian forms, including the ancestors of crocodiles, turtles, and most famously, the dinosaurs. As the Triassic transitioned into the Jurassic and then the Cretaceous periods, the reptiles continued their evolutionary success story. Dinosaurs in particular rose to prominence, dominating terrestrial ecosystems for over 150 million years. But they weren't the only successful reptilian lineage. The ancestors of modern crocodiles also appeared in the Triassic, developing into formidable predators in both aquatic and terrestrial environments. Turtles, with their iconic shells, evolved in the late Triassic, their origins still a subject of scientific debate. And the squamates, the group that includes lizards and snakes, also began to diversify during this time. The reptiles represent a vast and diverse group, with over 10,000 living species today. From the tiny gecko to the massive saltwater crocodile, they have adapted to a remarkable range of habitats across the globe. Their evolutionary journey, stretching back hundreds of millions of years, is a testament to their adaptability and resilience. Our understanding of the rise of reptiles is built upon a rich fossil record, revealing the gradual changes in their anatomy and the incredible diversity of forms that have existed throughout Earth's history. Paleontologists continue to unearth new fossils that shed light on the intricate evolutionary relationships within this fascinating group. The rise of reptiles marked a new era of terrestrial dominance, setting the stage for some of the most iconic creatures to ever walk the Earth. Join us in the next chapter as we delve into the age of these magnificent animals, the reign of dinosaurs. The reptiles had risen to prominence, but one group within this vast lineage would achieve unparalleled dominance over the land for an astonishing 150 million years. This is the story of the dinosaurs, their rise, their incredible diversity and their long reign over planet Earth. The Mesozoic era, often called the Age of Reptiles, began around 252 million years ago, following the Permian-Triassic extinction. It was during the Triassic period that the first true dinosaurs evolved from earlier reptile ancestors. These early dinosaurs were relatively small, but they possessed key features that would eventually lead to their global success. What exactly defines a dinosaur? Scientists look for specific skeletal features, particularly in the hips and ankles. Dinosaurs are broadly divided into two main groups based on their hip structure: the Saurischeans, which include the long-necked sauropods and the meat-eating theropods, and the Ornithischians, which include the bird-hipped dinosaurs like Stegosaurus and Triceratops. Despite the name, birds actually evolved from the Saurischean group. The Triassic period saw the emergence of dinosaurs like Coelophysis, a small, agile predator, and the early ancestors of the giant sauropods, the largest land animals to ever live. These early forms began to fill the ecological niches left vacant by the Permian extinction. Now let's delve into the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, two eras that mark the zenith of dinosaur evolution. As the Triassic gave way to the Jurassic period, around 201 to 145 million years ago, dinosaurs truly began to flourish. This was the age of the giants. Massive sauropods like Brachiosaurus and Apatosaurus roamed the Earth, their long necks allowing them to reach the highest vegetation. Predatory theropods like the fearsome Allosaurus stalked the land, keeping the herbivore populations in check. The Cretaceous period, around 145 to 66 million years ago, marked the peak of dinosaur diversity. This was the era of iconic giants like Tyrannosaurus rex, one of the largest and most powerful land predators that ever lived. Herbivores like the heavily armored Ankylosaurus, the horned Triceratops, and the plated Stegosaurus also thrived, each with their own unique defenses and adaptations. One of the most fascinating discoveries in recent decades has been the evidence for feathered dinosaurs. Fossil finds, particularly from China, have revealed that many theropod dinosaurs, including close relatives of Tyrannosaurus rex, possessed feathers. Scientists continue to debate the physiology of dinosaurs. Were they warm-blooded like mammals and birds, or cold-blooded like modern reptiles? The evidence is complex, with some studies suggesting a metabolism somewhere in between. Their behavior is also a subject of ongoing research, with fossil evidence hinting at complex social structures, parental care, and even migration patterns in some species. While dinosaurs dominated the land, they weren't the only inhabitants of the Mesozoic world. Early mammals, often small and nocturnal, scurried in the undergrowth. Insects diversified into a myriad of forms, and the plant life also underwent significant changes, with the rise of flowering plants in the Cretaceous period. For over 150 million years, dinosaurs reigned supreme, adapting to a wide range of environments and evolving into an incredible variety of shapes and sizes. Their story is a testament to the power of evolution and the vastness of geological time. But as we will discover in our next chapter, even the most successful dynasties can come to an end. Join us next time as we explore the dramatic events that brought the age of dinosaurs to a sudden and catastrophic close in extinction. Dinosaurs, in their prime, roamed a vibrant Earth. But suddenly a streak of light flashes across the sky. Fire, dust and chaos ensue. The end of an era has begun. For over 150 million years, the dinosaurs had reigned supreme, a dynasty that seemed unshakable. The late Cretaceous period was a world teeming with giants, a vibrant tapestry of life dominated by these magnificent reptiles. But their long reign was about to come to a sudden and catastrophic end. This is the story of the great dinosaur extinction. Around 66 million years ago, at the boundary between the Cretaceous and Paleogene periods, often abbreviated as the KPG boundary, a cataclysmic event occurred that would forever alter the course of life on Earth. The leading theory, and the one with the most compelling evidence, points to the impact of a large asteroid or comet. Scientists believe this impactor was roughly 10 to 15 kilometers in diameter, about the size of a large city. It struck the Earth in what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, creating a massive crater known as the Chicxulub crater, which spans over 180 kilometers in diameter. The energy released by this impact was equivalent to billions of atomic bombs. The aftermath of the asteroid impact was nothing short of catastrophic. Life on Earth would never be the same again. The immediate aftermath of the impact was devastating. Shockwaves rippled across the globe, triggering massive earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Enormous tsunamis, hundreds of meters high, crashed into coastlines. And the impact site itself was vaporized, sending vast amounts of rock and debris high into the atmosphere. But the long-term consequences were even more profound. The impact ejected an immense cloud of dust and soot into the stratosphere, blocking out sunlight for months, if not years. This plunged the planet into a dark and cold impact winter, halting photosynthesis and causing a catastrophic collapse of food chains on both land and in the oceans. One of the key pieces of evidence supporting the asteroid impact theory is the presence of a thin layer of sediment found globally at the KPG boundary that is highly enriched in the element iridium. Iridium is rare in the Earth's crust, but is much more abundant in asteroids and comets. This global iridium layer is like a fingerprint, pointing directly to an extraterrestrial impact. The impact winter had a particularly devastating effect on large, plant-eating dinosaurs, which relied on abundant vegetation. With the plants dying off, these herbivores starved, and in turn, the large carnivorous dinosaurs that preyed upon them also faced extinction. Despite the mass extinction, some species did manage to survive. Small mammals, birds and other resilient creatures adapted to the new, harsh conditions. Over millions of years, these survivors evolved and diversified, leading to the rich tapestry of life we see on Earth today. This remarkable recovery underscores the resilience of life in the face of catastrophic events. While the non-avian dinosaurs, the giants that had ruled the Earth for so long, were the most iconic victims of this extinction event, they weren't the only ones affected. Many other groups of organisms also suffered heavy losses, including marine reptiles, flying reptiles like pterosaurs, and many species of plants and invertebrates. However, not all life perished. Smaller animals, particularly those that could find shelter and survive on limited resources, had a better chance of making it through the impact winter. Early mammals, which were small and often nocturnal, managed to survive. Birds, which we now know are direct descendants of small theropod dinosaurs, also weathered the catastrophe. Other survivors included many reptiles like crocodiles, turtles and lizards, as well as amphibians, fish, and numerous species of insects and plants. The extinction event, while devastating, ultimately cleared the way for new groups of organisms to rise and diversify. While the asteroid impact is the primary driver of the KPG extinction event, some scientists suggest that other factors may have also played a role. For example, there was a period of intense volcanic activity in what is now India, known as the Deccan Traps, which released massive amounts of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, potentially destabilizing the climate even before the impact. The extinction event at the end of the Cretaceous period was a dramatic and pivotal moment in Earth's history. It marked the end of the long reign of the non-avian dinosaurs and paved the way for the rise of mammals, ultimately leading to the world we inhabit today. It serves as a powerful reminder of the fragility of life and the potential for sudden and catastrophic changes on a planetary scale. The story of the dinosaurs' extinction is a compelling one, pieced together from fossil evidence and geological clues. Join us in part 4 of the Earth's timeline, an epic history as we explore the world that emerged from this cataclysm, the rise of mammals.